A conundrum here. Sherry and Deb, can you hear me? Thumbs up or so we've a bit of a conundrum. In order to allow remote access into the meeting, I need to have a quorum in the room of the meeting. So I talked to Mike, and the way we can pivot this a little bit is we're going to operate this as a board work session that is publicized, but no decisions can be made. So we can allow Sherry and Deb in on the meeting to hear the information, but we'll make no decisions here. I think Mike's big thing about having a meeting tonight was to really get the information that is needed to be out there. We can make changes Monday night at our meeting prior to the deliberative. I have reached out to Moderator Epstein just to let him know kind of what's going on as well. So I'm going to make sure he gets a copy of, to get the video recording from the Madison TV so that he has the information he needs to be able to make it, to be able to help us navigate through this as well. So the fact that I called the meeting to order, finding that I do not have a quorum, so I'm going to actually close out because we're not going to have a meeting, but we're going to continue it as a work session to be recorded. Does that work for everybody else?
Yep.
Does that, Mike, does that seem
Yeah, that's fine.
legit and fair?
Yep.
Sherry and Deb, any questions about that?
I don't have any questions.
Holy cow.
Sorry, I wasn't sure.
No, I could have come in too. I just have COVID. I would have wore a mask, but
Yeah, no,
could've
I think,
wore 'em.
I think we can do this with information and then have some conversation back and forth. We are publicly noticed to be meeting, so that works. So we're in that realm as well.
Yeah, no, we'll be fine.
So go ahead, Mike.
All right,
I'm
great.
gonna-
So I wanted to talk with the board this evening about open enrollment. So what's happening in the ever-changing climate across the state with open enrollment? As you know, there's been a lot of legislative action.
Sorry, did you officially adjourn the meeting? Because I just want to make sure I just want to capture it in the notes to make sure that you officially adjourn it. That's all.
Yes, I would then say 6:33 officially adjourned.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I
Due
just-
to no quorum.
Okay. Thank you.
So the state currently, the way that things are moving, has been very pro open enrollment right now, which has caused a lot of school districts to bolster their policies. And what you're seeing this budget cycle is a lot of school districts that are putting warrant articles out to their public surrounding open enrollment. This year, the pulse has kind of ebbed and flowed, but as of recently, some neighboring districts have and are planning on having open enrollment on their warrant article. And Heather and I had a conversation with our attorney. Number one, to make sure we were in the spirit of the law and not do anything that's just disingenuous. So what I've presented, and I'll read this off so Deb and Sherry have a copy of some of the warrant language that I'm proposing, is that we would basically limit the capacity into our school at a number, and then put our number of students leaving at 0%. And the reason for this is that with open enrollment still being very much in flux, what this does is protects the district currently from fiscal liability. By having something like this in place, we would be able to not have any of our students leave our district. We would be able to bring in a number of students depending on the grade level. What our attorney has advised us at is that, open it for five or so students in kindergarten. Once a student leaves your district under an open enrollment, you are now responsible to pay for that student to leave to go to another district at 80% of the sending district's price per pupil. So whatever, if a Madison student left to go to District X, we would pay District X 80% of our cost per pupil. So what this does, what I'm proposing, shall the school district vote to designate the Madison School District as an open enrollment school district under the provisions of RSA 194D to allow students who reside outside Madison School District to attend the kindergarten, we'll say kindergarten just for draft purposes, and to limit the percentage of Madison students who may want to attend open enrollment schools located outside of Madison District to 0%. So those are the big numbers. That last number needs to be 0, and we would need to figure out. We did get clarity that it can't be 0-0. That is not meeting the spirit of the law. I can't say you're not going to release 0 and you're not going to receive 0. To certify and to embody the provisions of this RSA, we would need to take in, allow for students to attend. So we'd need to figure out what that number is. I'm suggesting, and Heather, you've been very versed in this as well, I'm suggesting that we would do 5 kindergarten students. And if the board wants to get into specifics, I can certainly sit down with Heather about certain grade levels that you want to take, 2 at 2nd grade, 1 at 3rd grade. We can get into the weeds if that's what you'd like to do to see what that looks like. I'm happy to do that. But that's our current place. I know this is a lot right now, as we've had different conversations about open enrollment throughout this school year. Knowing what some neighboring districts are doing, I really think it's important that this would go forward to make sure that we are protecting ourselves. If this is something the board wants to move forward with, we would want to put this right above the operating budget or right below the operating budget, because if this article is to be modified from the floor to say that the public wants to release 5% of students, we would need to modify the operating budget, because we would have to budget that price per pupil at 80%. So if 5 students were being released, we would have to modify the operating budget to cover those costs.
So I thought, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's just always been the
Sure.
operating budget was the first article after, like Article 1 was always officers
Yes.
and everything, and Article
Yes.
2 was the operating budget. I think I would say in order to be able to do that effectively,
Mhm.
this article would have to be the article just before the operating budget, so that you wouldn't have to go back and reconsider, which I know our moderator does not like to do, is
Right.
to go back up and to reconsider an article. So I would say if we put it up, we would probably have to do it prior to the operating budget.
That makes sense. They need to be next to each other.
Right.
And for those purposes, that we may need to modify the operating budget if it's changed from the floor.
Okay.
If we say it's not 0, it's 5 students or whatever
Mhm.
percentage.
Mm-hmm.
If said student leaves, we pay 80%. What if that student requires services? Are we, as a sending district, responsible for
Yes.
still for that student?
Yes.
But our cost per pupil
Mhm.
standard rate is only 80%, and then the
That's
special
right.
services will be billed out dollar for dollar
That's right.
at the discretion. Are we responsible for the special ed? Under the direction, is it still under the Madison School District direction, or is it say that the student goes to Conway? Does Conway now responsible for that student's special
They're-
ed?
You mean like LEA? Is that what you guys like being the?
That's very.
Like
yes.
Lisa, like
sure.
Lisa Dubois.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our
Right.
special services director, would that person
That-
still be in charge of that student?
That's my understanding. It's still very gray.
Okay.
This RSA has been on the books for many, many years. It was just recently, for lack of better terms, kind of resurrected at Mount Prospect Academy, and that's the latest legal battle you've seen between Mount Prospect and Pittsfield of who's required to pay.
Right, because I to Ed's, I'm thinking, okay, so let's say I work in Portsmouth.
Mm-hmm.
I drive there every day, and they have a great school system. I want to bring my kid to Portsmouth. There's no way we can have Lisa LEA that child
Right.
in Portsmouth. 1 in Portsmouth, 3 in Concord, 2 in Hanover. I mean, there's that would be,
Yeah,
and then for us to be stuck with the
Yeah.
bill where we have no say.
This whole process has been very muddy throughout. This has first come, come back into play the past couple of years, specifically at Mount Prospect. I mean, Heather and I have talked with legal counsel, and we've gotten 6 different opinions. We've finally have nailed something down, and that's why this is kind of a last minute proposition. Because of how quickly things have been moving, and as of recent, there hadn't been really any neighboring districts that are looking at open enrollment until recently. So we would want to. This would inevitably. I think this could be a legal battle, if depending where it goes. And that was my biggest concern. But hearing that our attorneys are saying that this would meet the spirit of the RSA, and if it gets challenged, it gets challenged, but we are not the canary in the coal mine. There are a number of districts doing this.
I'm not opposed to allowing intake, where it would be considered appropriate. I mean, I think if the administration goes back and comes to us and says, well, if we looked at just next year, where do we see holes that we could fill? That'd be good to have maybe for Monday to be able to put that in here somewhere. Now, is this something we would have to change year to year? So let's say the board says, yeah, we can do 4 kindergartners, 2 first graders, 3 third, no 4th, 1 5th, and 5 6th. Do we have to change this every
I
year
believe this does get changed every year.
as a warrant article every year?
Or
No.
it's just like a policy?
It becomes basically a policy. The warrant article only has to be approved once, but your ratios can, the number of students across grade levels could change. That's why in this first year, I thought we'd keep it simple.
Yep.
And see what happens, because I do think this probably will be challenged somewhere in the state, and this kind of gives us a little bit of time for the legislature to figure it out, because I guarantee there will be another bill that clarifies this.
Okay.
So that was my initial thought. Let's keep it clean and simple.
Deb.
I have a couple questions. So if, let's say, for example, we do the 5 kindergartners, if we don't change the policy, does that mean they can't come first grade? Or once they've been enrolled, do they get to continue?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, great question. Thank you. I meant to hit on that. So once the student is accepted through open enrollment in your school district, they can finish out. So that was clear, talking with legal, that they would be able to finish out, and the sending district would be paying that annual price per pupil throughout the student's career. So once they leave, they have the opportunity to finish out.
So to tap on that, and I know you had another question, Deb, to tap on that same piece while I'm there. If they enroll,
Yeah.
start September 5th,
Mm-hmm.
can they walk mid-year?
I think they always have that choice. Yeah. Yeah.
Do we,
Does that open another position for another student to come in?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if, I'm just really just trying to wrap my mind. So we do, let's say we do 5 kindergartners, we fill those 5. The next year, we probably would want to change the policy, because, especially if we have the K to 2, because we would really be pushing our limits if we continued to do them at kindergarten level. Am I right?
That's a great point. And I think we will need to take another look at this as we get more dialed in. I just think at this, I think that's it. You're absolutely correct. Yes, I think you're right.
And then my other question was, is this public school to public school?
Great question. Yes. Public school, and it has to be within the state of New Hampshire.
So all the kids that we have right now that go to charter school or whatever, they couldn't claim open enrollment going to those schools and say, hey, now we are on the hook for 80%.
Charter schools are a public school,
gonna be bad.
but they have that option to go anyways. This is for public schools.
Right, but charge the public.
Yeah, but different. They operate under a different.
I would like some
Sure.
clarification,
Sure.
some legal
Yeah.
clarification
Yeah,
of that.
as soon as that was said, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
That could be a lot of money
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
students we aren't
Yeah.
necessarily paying for
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. But if we
But
go,
if we say 0% going out,
yeah, that's
Right.
right.
then we're not responsible for
Correct.
that, right?
And at any
That would
point,
be my recommendation, is that we want 0% going out, but maybe we could take a few coming in.
correct. And that's what we would definitely. We couldn't have a 0-0. We would have to have at least in one of those
A number
buckets
in
a
one.
number. That's correct.
Would we accept these students as we do now, like interdistrict transfers or best interest?
Yes, that's
Style.
my understanding. Yes, that they'd need to be accepted by the district. But if we have a number, we have to stick to that.
right, we'd only have to accept 5.
Yes.
Could we have a policy,
Mhm.
or should we have a policy on acceptance?
Yes, we should.
So an acceptance policy.
We should, and I'll have to dig. As we start to climb the ladder with this, we'll dig into the associated obstacles and clarification.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I always have questions. So this would be different than what we've done in the past in terms of, we have a student who's from another district, they want to come to our school, we've approved them, but we can at some point say no. Once we've accepted open enrollment, we can't then turn around and say, no, this is not working for us. We have to keep educating those students we have open enrolled.
They would still have to adhere to the, and I could be misinterpreting your question, Deb, and I apologize if I am. So just keep me back on track. They would still need to adhere to all our, handbook policies and those items. Once they're in, that's my understanding that they would have the opportunity to finish in in your district.
Right,
But I think her question, and
yeah,
maybe that's what
if
we
they're
do.
not, the student's not working out for whatever
Yeah,
behavioral reasons
yeah,
or whatever,
yep.
do we have the ability to send the
Yes.
student back to their home
Yes,
district?
yes. Or not necessarily back to the district,
Or
but
just
not
out of
here.
our district.
Right.
We have the right to reserve
Yes.
and say, you know what,
It's not
this
working
Yeah,
for
this
us.
kiddo
yeah.
is super disruptive, and is that where you were going, Deb? I think
Yes.
that's what I was hearing.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
if if the child is not a fit
Yep.
for Madison, for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, not just because they're
Yeah.
whatever, redheaded or
Yeah.
blonde or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
It would be the same standard that we would have for,
Okay.
along those same lines for our,
All right.
own students.
Just want to make sure we're protected.
Yes.
In
Yep.
every case in which it could come to,
Certainly.
and they
I have a
can't-
question.
Yeah.
So, because just thinking of the SAU as a whole in our neighboring schools, do you know if Freedom and Tamworth are going in this direction?
That is my recommendation to those districts as well. Yes.
Okay.
They're getting the same speech.
Okay.
Because I don't want districts to be the antagonist to other districts in our area. I think we have an agreement in place that allows, if there's a certain circumstance, that we would, work within our SAU for the
the
a
betterment.
fit for if it's an appropriate reason. But this is in response to, I think, some of the actions that this is being moved forward in other districts. And I know as a whole in the North Country that this is pretty standard, that this is the language that they're using.
And my other question is, because this is so, I like the thought of open enrollment, but I kind of hate it too, because I know what it does when it comes to budgeting, right?
Mhm.
Like that always worries me the most. But on the other hand, I can see that there's a lot of great opportunity at Madison and why people would want to come. So, but are we doing our community any favors by moving this quickly and not really teaching them about what this means?
If-
That's just
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. I think there's been some pretty quick movement from surrounding districts that this has moved ahead with. So what we have to be prepared for is if we don't approve this and set that to zero, that our operating budget is not going to cover if students leave at 80%. I mean, it's covered right now for our middle and high school, but this would now be applicable to elementary
So if
students.
we
leaving.
don't set that number to zero
Yes,
now,
yes,
and 5 kids decide to leave because the state's opened enrollment and
Mhm.
Freedom's agreed to accept 2,
mm-hmm.
those kids can just go.
Those kids
And
can
we are
just go.
stuck at 80% of our cost per student, which we have not budgeted
That's
for.
absolutely,
And that would be paid to the district they go to.
that's right. That is summarized perfectly.
Okay, so this gets a little odd. So that means, because I did envision students at like Freedom or Tamworth wanting to come over to Madison, this means they wouldn't be able to.
If they adopt the same article in the way that Mike's recommending it to us, which I'm sure he's probably
Mhm.
recommending it the same to them,
Yes.
correct. Now, we've always worked well with the other 2 districts
Mhm.
for more educational hardships or
Yeah, you know,
special circumstances
Exactly.
that we were able to work with under, but not just open to say go yes.
Yeah, that was one of my other questions, that would this supersede our ability to still accept students back and forth within our SAU? So it's good to hear that we could still, like, we wouldn't have to accept them,
Right.
but we still could.
We still could. The biggest, I think the thing I want to highlight the most on this is there's still superintendent's agreements, there's still manifest educational hardships, there's still best interest, all those things at play. The piece that is important here is that the district pays. The district is paying
Right.
80% your cost per pupil.
Right.
To another district that has opened open enrollment.
That has said, we'll take your kids, we want your money, we'll educate them.
Right.
What happens if the voters do not accept this?
That's a great
Just
question.
asking.
If it doesn't get accepted, then technically,
I mean, we can't bring it up, right?
we are not an open enrollment. Then technically, we're not an open enrollment school district. But I think there's some gray areas where we could lose students. I think I would have to dig into that with the attorney, but
We should know that so that if we
Yeah.
don't, so the voters know, if
Yeah.
we don't accept this and 5 students leave, doesn't matter. We're gonna have to pay 80%
that's right.
to X district.
That's what we're. That's certainly the piece we're looking at. That's
Say, as it was explained to us, the 3 options is to do a 0-0, which was not recommended, a some amount in, and a 0% sending, which was recommended, and the third option was wait and see and do nothing. But he did say the do nothing means you are not an open enrollment district, in the Mount Prospect ruling paved the way for you're on the hook for 80%.
Thank you. That's
of your
well
costs.
said, Heather. So in what happened with Pittsfield and Mount Prospect is Pittsfield wasn't open enrollment. Mount Prospect was. They left. Pittsfield, it went to court, and they said, Pittsfield, you're paying. So if we don't go forward with this, then we are setting ourselves up for some potential liability and exposure.
I would just want to make sure that whatever number we choose for coming in is something that doesn't impact our students that are already here in a hugely negative
Mhm.
way.
And I would personally like to understand the special services too.
Sure.
If the student comes in from far enough away, to Jim's point, we would be responsible for that student. So I would like to understand.
Yeah, I can get some. We asked that. That's kind of a muddy one right now because this is so new and there hasn't been that many a big sample size.
I just don't want you get the wrong kid to move
Yep.
in and all of a sudden our special ed capital reserve is gone.
Right.
And it is for the next 15 years.
The way I understand
Right.
it is that the sending district, you're still responsible for special ed.
It does work that way for the foster kids are
Right,
going place.
right.
I mean,
Right.
they may be
And
placed
would
in the district.
parents still have to transport?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, great
That's-
question.
Would there be some type of or could it be as part of our policy related to open enrollment that we'd have to work on pretty quickly as well? Some type of an agreement, or do they not have to sign any type of agreement? So like, and I'm just, Deb,
Yeah,
you're there,
yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
using, if Deb wanted to send her kids to us.
Yeah.
And it says if special ed services are needed, your home district's gonna pay the bill, transportation
Yeah.
is responsible by the parent or the school district. But Madison is not responsible for transportation, and what we're not responsible for and what we are responsible for.
Yeah.
So that we can at least clarify
Yeah,
that.
open enrollment, we are not responsible for transportation.
Okay.
And I will clarify that with special ed, but I'm very confident that it's the sending district that would be responsible for those ancillary costs.
And if the student comes in 6th grade and then 7th grade goes to Kennett Middle School,
Mm-hmm.
they're a student of Madison still?
They would need to, that's a good question, and I don't think there's been mainly open enrollment at the moment has been at the high school level. So I don't think there's been any elementary, to my knowledge, elementary open enrollment. Because everyone sends their little ones to their home school district. I mean, that's just kind of how it works. High school's a different ballgame.
High school bills out their own though. So
Yeah.
Kennett bills now to Madison, they wouldn't technically be a Madison student, they'd be call it OSPI student.
Yeah. So this is
That
only
Madison's billing OSPI
If-
for.
But they come to our district in 6th grade. Do they then transfer to Conway's district?
no,
I don't
not
think so.
not under open
So
enrollment.
they'd be under our average daily membership, which would be back billed to us, correct?
No, it's only at our K6 price. It's billed at the elementary. Our cost per pupil was at the so.
Right. No,
if-
he's
sorry.
talking about if they come in 6th grade
Yep.
and they decide, okay, instead of going to Governor Wentworth, we're going to go to Conway with Madison kids. Are they a Madison student in Conway?
Or are they a Conway
Or
student in Conway?
Is this a student that is coming to us?
From OSPI, let's
Oh,
call
no,
it.
then we have no jurisdiction under open enrollment. They can only come to Madison School District.
Elementary.
Oh,
yes.
okay, so it's the building, so
Yes.
then that student, say an
Yep.
OSSP student,
Yep.
would then transfer to Kennett
Yep.
Conway.
They would have to do. They would have.
They'd have to
They
have
come
open
up-
enrollment as well.
They'd
They
have
would
to go
come
through
off
that
of
process
our books
again.
and go to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we would no longer get. So if that happened, we would no longer get that 80% revenue, but it's under the district umbrella, Madison School District. So whatever we offer,
To our.
K, pre-K through 6, that's
Got
what
it.
we can.
Okay.
That's what we'd be writing on the warrant.
Okay. Sherry, Deb? Did you have something else?
No, all I was going to say is this is an evolving topic. It's very, very confusing. There's a lot of different districts that are trying different things. The attorneys are still trying to figure this all out. We finally were able to get some, really good tangible advice on how to craft our warrant, because part of the piece that I was wrestling with is, kind of the dilemma of, well, you're letting some kids out, but you're not you're letting some kids in, but you're not letting some out. Is that in the spirit of the RSA? So after talking with legal and looking at what's happening around us, this is what I would recommend to make sure that we are in a position that we are not going to have to change the operating budget.
Right. Okay.
So if a student tomorrow, decides they want to go to, from OSSP, from here to OSSP,
Mhm.
we would be on the hook for 80%?
That's right. If OSSP is an open enrollment school district. Right now, we do not have any open enrollment school districts in our vicinity,
Okay.
which gets down to the transportation area, range. You're kind of looking, it's like a geographic range is how I look at open enrollment, that you're probably very unlikely that if you live in Madison, you're going to send your kid to,
Concord.
Hampton or Concord, sure.
Also, on the acceptance side, we get 80% of that school district's cost per student.
That's right.
So if our cost per student is $34,000 and their cost per student is $20,000,
Yep.
we're going to get $16,000.
Right. So it depends on if you're getting a student from a property rich area or not, based on our funding formula.
Right.
That has a lot
Right,
to
if
do
a,
with.
if a Jackson student with
Yeah.
a $50,000, it's great,
Yeah.
but.
That's why I think it's important that we're not impacting like levels of personnel and things like that, because then we're gonna lose out.
Right.
And that's why I think having an idea of what next year looks like and says, okay, we could accept a couple here, a couple there, and that's not going to change. That's not going to require me to add a teacher to add
Right.
kids.
I'm looking at your capacity for that then is grades 3 through 6.
Okay.
Because the expected next year K through 2 is looking like 17 for each class, and board policy is capped to 18.
Yeah.
Right.
that
So
would
then
be
then
good.
I would say we go look at the 3 through 6.
So if this gets accepted, we could then write a policy defining for the calendar year, 5 kids, 3 to 6.
Yeah,
or
when we
whatever
set
that
our,
number.
yeah, right, because that will change year to year, right?
Yeah, and it was the same thing I wanted to make sure that we didn't burst a bubble and have to be on the hook to add staff
Right.
where we're
I mean, we
trying.
still could experience that
We could
because of move-ins, but if we can be as,
proactive
you know,
as possible.
not really put ourselves at risk by putting the numbers close. Like if we're 17 and 17 and K to 2, that would not be good to be adding students at that level.
Right.
Right. If we can accept, 5 in the 3rd grade, maybe we do 4 or 3. Give ourselves some wiggle room to. Obviously, the more students, the better for us. But the more students, the better for us, as long as we don't have to hire more staff to
That's right.
do it.
Right.
And it gives a little bit more versatility and or.
Drives the cost down,
It does help drive our costs down as well,
cost per student.
because numbers go up, and income brings costs down. So, yep.
And that would go to the budget as just a revenue line, Heather?
A tuition revenue, yeah.
Other thoughts or concerns or anything we want to have them bring back, other than thoughts on grade levels where we should put things, where would be appropriate for us to.
we
put
can
it.
do
Appreciate
that.
that, so.
Okay.
That's great. Yeah, we'll do that. I think, give this some thought, and then we'll be able to write it up for Monday,
Okay.
and hopefully we'll be able to get that through and get, if there's some placement if there's room for some jockeying of warrant articles around. If we can get that around, that'd be ideal.
Yep.
But we'll make the best of it.
Okay. Good. Yes.
I just was going to ask about the board packet for Monday. Am I able to pick one up?
Yep, it's all printed. I'll put it in the bucket outside tonight.
Is there any possibility that you could put the
Annual
Annual
report.
report.
Yep, no
that would
problem.
be great.
Sherry,
Thank
do you
you.
want me to do the same for you?
Yeah, please.
Sure.
Good.
Great.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you all. This is
Yeah,
a very
thank you.
productive work session.
All right, guys.
Thank
all right.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Have a good
it.
night.
Bye.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
we're good, thank you.
Right. Waiting for that adjournment term, but it ain't happening.